Imagine this, it's late at night, not the dramatic kind of late night, just you, your phone glowing in the dark, scrolling for no reason because sleep just isn't happening, and the thoughts start creeping in. What if the car breaks down tomorrow? What if work cuts my hours? What if one bad week completely wipes me out? It's not that you're irresponsible, it's that there's no margin for error. We all have this idea that financial stress disappears when you're rich, but that's not really true. The biggest mental shift, the first real turning point, doesn't happen at $1 million. It doesn't even happen at 6 figures. It's much smaller, and way more attainable. It happens when you save your first $10,000. Why that number? It's not because $10,000 buys you freedom. It doesn't, but what it does buy you is space. Before you have that cushion, life feels like walking on a tightrope. Every single decision has huge consequences. A surprise bill isn't just annoying, it feels threatening. You're not asking yourself, is this a good idea? Instead, you're constantly asking, can I survive this? And that question, that fear, quietly controls everything. You might hesitate to speak up at work with a good idea. You delay making changes in your life that you know would help you in the long run. You say yes to situations you hate, all because you're afraid of the consequences of saying no. That's what living without a buffer does. It shrinks your world. But something fascinating happens when you finally cross that 5-figure line. You don't suddenly start spending wildly. You don't feel rich. You still check prices at the grocery store. What changes is your physical and mental reaction to problems. That sharp spike of panic you used to feel when something went wrong, it softens. That background anxiety that never fully shut off, it gets quieter. A problem comes up, and instead of spiraling into worst-case scenarios, your brain just goes, okay, let's handle it. That shift alone is life-altering, because now, your decisions aren't being made from a place of fear. They're being made from a place of strategy. You can wait for a better job instead of grabbing the very first offer that comes your way. You can invest in a course to learn a new skill without worrying if you can make rent next month. You can walk away from bad situations, bad jobs, bad relationships, because you're no longer trapped by financial necessity. And here's the part most people completely miss. You don't even have to spend the money for it to work its magic. Just knowing it's there, sitting in your account, changes how you move through the world. Psychologists call this a reduction in cognitive load. Regular people, like you and me, call it finally being able to breathe. When money isn't constantly screaming for your attention, your mind gets its energy back. You sleep better. You're more patient with your family. You're sharper and more focused at work. You stop just reacting to crises and you start actually planning your future. And that planning is what creates real, unstoppable momentum. Now, what's wild is that the hardest part isn't actually reaching the $10,000 mark. The hardest part is becoming the kind of person who saves consistently. So many people try to just power through saving. They treat it like a punishment. They cut out everything they enjoy, suffer for a few months, inevitably burn out, and then repeat the cycle. It never works. The people who actually succeed do something different. They stop asking, how much can I possibly save this month? And they start asking a much more powerful question. Who do I want to be? Once saving becomes a part of your identity, I am a person who saves. The math gets so much easier. Good habits start to replace raw willpower. Your progress starts to compound. Think about it. That first $1,000 you save feels almost impossible. The next 1,000 feels really hard. But somewhere along the way, saving stops feeling like a heroic effort and it just starts feeling normal. And that is when everything really changes. Because now, money isn't just something you lose every month paying bills. It's something you control. It's something that gives you options. And options are a form of power. Not flashy, luxury power, but a quiet, steady power. The power to say no. The power to wait for the right opportunity. The power to choose the smart, long-term move instead of the desperate, short-term one. This is exactly why someone with $10,000 saved and a modest income is often in a much better mental and strategic position than someone earning twice as much but living paycheck to paycheck with nothing set aside. One has security, the other only has pressure. And pressure makes smart people make bad decisions. So no, $10,000 will not solve all of your problems. But what it does is it fundamentally changes the asterisk of problems you have. You go from asking, how do I survive this, to asking, what is the smartest move here? And once you start thinking that way, you don't just save money. You start to build a completely different trajectory for your life. Because the real value of your first $10,000 isn't the dollars themselves. It's the person you become on the way to earning them. Thanks for watching.